All right, if you got your Bibles tonight, I ain't going to keep you a real long time tonight. I'd like to preach about 15 minutes. I've never done it, but I'd like to. Chapter 7 of the book of Numbers. Amen. Said I'd like to. I'm going to. But it's your town to do it. Amen. All right. I guess the title tonight, if I've known a title of the message tonight, it would be, but unto the sons of Kohath he gave none. He gave none. So chapter 7, verse 1. And it came to pass on the day that Moses had fully set up the tabernacle and anointed it, sanctified it, and all the instruments thereof, both the altar and of the vessels thereof, and had anointed them and sanctified them. And the princes of Israel, heads of the house of their fathers, who were the princes of the tribes, and were over them that were numbered, offered. And they brought their offering before the Lord, 6 covered wagons and 12 oxen, a wagon for 2 of the princes, and for each one an ox, and they brought them before the tabernacle. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Take it of them, that they may be to do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, and thou shalt give them unto the Levites, to every man according to his service. And Moses took the wagons and the oxen, and gave them unto the Levites. Listen to this now. 2 wagons and 4 oxen he gave unto the sons of Gershon, according to their service. And 4 wagons, there's 6 wagons, right? 6 wagons. Okay, so 2 wagons he gave to Gershon, and 4 wagons and 8 oxen he gave unto the sons of Merari, according unto their service, under the hand of the Ithamar, the son of Aaron, the priest. Now verse 9 says, But unto the sons of Korath he gave none, because the service of the sanctuary belongeth unto them, was that they should bear upon their shoulders. You see? Now, let me set this up. The princes gave a great offering to the tabernacle once Moses had set it up. They gave 2 wagons, let's see, altogether, let's see. And they brought an offering before the Lord. 6 covered wagons. 6 covered wagons and 12 oxen. Okay, and to one of the brothers, they had 3 brothers of the Levites that were going to do the service of the congregation, right? So Moses took the wagons and the oxen and gave them to the Levites. 2 wagons and 4 oxen he gave it to the sons of Gershon. All right, Gershon's the number 1 son, according to their service. And 4 wagons and 8 oxen he gave it to the sons of Merari, according to their service. So the 6 wagons and the 12 oxen now had been given to these 2 sons, Gershon and Merari. But unto the other son, Korath, didn't give a wagon. He also not only didn't give a wagon, he said that their part would be borne upon their shoulders. They have to tow there. So now let me set this up. Let me go back over here to verse 25 of chapter 3. So I kind of let you understand why it's going this way. This is very important for you to get the gist of this message. For you to get the understanding of what I'm preaching about, have to pay close attention, okay? But it's very important that you do, because I believe there's a great blessing in understanding this message. I believe it's a great blessing, and I believe it's a great blessing for you. You're the one here tonight, not for the one that's not here. It's for the ones that's here. Now listen, everybody's not here. There's folks out with the flu. There's folks out taking care of people with the flu. There's a certain group that's gone to Oklahoma in the church bus. So there is listen, God's a mighty God. Amen. God works out who he wants here tonight. Well, I'm not saying God would want the whole house full, but God works with what he's got. So he knew who was going to be here, that he knew the message that he had me to prepare. Now, this group of people, it's these folks, and it's not far, don't by any means think in your mind, say, I wish so-and-so was here, because they really needed that message. That's not it. The message is for you. So I want you to receive it into your heart and into your mind and understand the message, okay? So in chapter 3 and verse 25 it says, and the charge of the sons of Gershon, that was one of the three brothers. The charge of the son of Gershon in the tabernacle of congregation shall be the tabernacle, the tent, the covering thereof, the hangings of the doors of the tabernacle of the congregation, the hangings of the court, the curtains for the doors of the court, which is by the tabernacle, and by the altar round about, and the cords of it, for all the service thereof. Now that's for Gershon. He's going to take all of that part of the tabernacle. Okay, the coverings of it, the hangings of it, the curtains of it, all the fabric and all that stuff. So Gershon got the job of carrying that, and he got wagons to carry his own. Okay, and the next charge is to the other one. Let's see, and their charge. Let's see. No, I don't want to do this next. Let's look at verse 36. And under the custody and charge the sons of Merari shall be the boards of the tabernacle, and the bars thereof, and the pillars thereof, and the sockets thereof, and all the vessels thereof, and all that serveth thereto, and the pillars of the court round about, and their sockets, and their pins, and their cords. Okay? So he's got a load of stuff that he's supposed to carry. This is how they carry the tabernacle, which is a very holy place of God, which is a very important place of God, which where God dwells at when he stays with the children of Israel in the wilderness. They built this tabernacle by his specification, and God dwells in this tabernacle. The presence of God is with the children of Israel, and he stays in this tabernacle. It's a very holy place. It's a very sacred place. And now let's look at verse 31 of chapter 3, I believe it is, yeah. And this is the charge to Kohath, the one that was to carry on his shoulders, to tote this through the wilderness. And their charge shall be the ark. That's where the presence of God dwells. The ark, and the table, and the candlestick, and the altar, and the vessels of the sanctuary, wherewith they minister, and the hanging, and all the service thereof. So now, Kohath has got all of the other stuff, all of the stuff that is in the Holy of Holies. That's the Ark of the Covenant. All the stuff that's in the holy place, the candlestick, the showbread, the table, all of those things that's in there, all of the instruments that they do the worship of God with, where the priest goes in one time a year, and it's very holy, and it's very sacred, and it's very special to God. But he hasn't been given a wagon. Now, he's not carrying this tabernacle from here to the end of the building. That's not it. For the next 40 years, they're going to carry this thing through the wilderness for the next 40 years. Throughout these men that's appointed here, throughout their entire lifetime, they'll die off in the wilderness. They'll never go in to the promised land, but yet they'll carry this tabernacle on their shoulders, or the instruments of the tabernacle on their shoulders for the next 40 years. Treading through mountain places, through desert places, through a very harsh environment. They'll be expected to bear this on their shoulders. Understand that? Okay. So let's look at this. All right. Let's get Robert and Jacob. Isaac, y'all come up. Come up here. Land. So y'all come up. All right. Now, Robert, you put Isaac on your back. Hop up on his back. Yeah, hop up on his back. Can you tow him? Big enough to tow him? Hop up there, boy. Go on. Grab it. Okay. All right. Now, this is one of Gershon. This is Merari, or Rai. These two. And this is Kohath. Now, these two, get behind them. Get behind them. You stand right here. Come here, Jacob. Stand right there. Stand right beside him. Facing that way. Facing that way. And you stand behind him. Okay. Now walk back and forth. Walk all the way over that door. We'll walk all the way back over here. Now this is how these guys are on a wagon, the first two. All right, come back. I'll get back over. These two are on a wagon. They got wheels. They got 12 oxen. They got 6 wagons. They're carrying all the time. Come back to it. They're carrying the stuff through the wilderness. They're simply riding the wagon. Now, all they got to do is make sure that it don't fall off the wagon. Okay, now, Kohath has, don't let him down. Get back up there. Get back up there. Here we go. All right. Now, here we go. Back and forth through the wilderness. And he has to bear it on his shoulders. He just rides the wagon. He just rides the wagon. He has to bear it on his shoulders. All right, come back one more time and I'll let you go. This is how they track through the wilderness through hundreds of miles. Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate you. Robert, you would rather have the other one's job, right? You'd rather have a wagon? Is that not true? Amen, I said. So that's what's going on here. Trying to give you that visual so you can understand what I'm saying. All three of these men are serving God at his request. At God's request, these 3 men are serving God with all their heart. The 2 that were given the wagons, they as well are serving God with their whole heart. They're simply doing what God asked them to do. Not that they got an easy job. It's not hard traveling through the desert. I don't care what you're doing. It's hard. And it's a commitment you have to keep. And it's very hard to do. But it's not as hard physically on you as it is on Kohath. He's going to have a hard time. Because the Ark of the Covenant had rings on it. And it had poles that you slide through the ring. And you could not touch the Ark with your hand and kill you. You would drop dead. Right then. If you touched the Ark of the Covenant, God would allow you to die right there. You right? Yeah. He done it. Husband. But when they found the Ark and they were carrying it on the ox cart, when it started to fall, he just reached up and grabbed it just to keep it from falling. And he dropped dead right there. When he touched the Ark, it was such a holy thing. It was such an important thing. such a sacred thing to God that you slid the poles through it and you put it up on your shoulders and you bore it that way. But not only the ark, all of the instruments of the inside of the tabernacle, whether it was in the Holy of Holies where the Ark of the Covenant was, or whether it was in the holy place where the candlestick and the showbread and the brazen altar and all of that stuff was, and the altar of incense and all of that that dwelled inside the tabernacle, those were charged. This Kohath was charged with carrying them. And they took it, and if you read in there, and I think it'd be a blessing if you, they taken that and they wrapped it in a blue cloth, and then they wrapped it in badger skins, and then they prepared it to be carried on the shoulders of these men of the tribe that were connected with Kohath. Okay, so now, my point in trying to point all of this out, and my point in letting you under, y'all missed the show. We just finished up. That guys just sat down. Robin's still breathing hard. No, come on. So we'll get David. He can get on Donnie's shoulders. You can be Kohath. And I'm probably not going to work. That would be good with you, though, right there. But he was commanded to bear it all on his shoulders. Okay? So I'm thinking, listen, there's folks in this room, there's folks here, there's single mothers in our church that have been asked to bear quite a burden. They do it because of their love for their children and their love for God, to make sure they're here at church time. There's grandmothers that take on raising other children. They got quite a burden. Their burden is heavier at times than yours is. They don't have a husband at home to take care of the light sockets, clear out the trash, and do those kind of things. They don't have anybody like that. Yet they're still serving God. They're here on time, most of the time ahead of time. They're not only here on time ahead of time, they're in there cooking and cleaning and preparing. And look at the burdens, look at the differences in the burdens that's carried just among us. Some of us ride the wagon and serve God. Some of us don't have the physical undertakings that some of these ladies and even men take on when they take on a family and their spouse has abandoned them. They got quite a burden to bear. And we should understand that. I believe we ought to be sympathetic towards that. But not only that, I don't want to point out our obligation to them to be sympathetic to their plight and their burden. That's their burden to bear. Most of them do it very graciously. But my point is this. God, what are you doing? How is it that you allow such an unfair situation? Would you not give Kohath, there were 3 wagons, 3 men, 12 oxen. There should have been a cart or a wagon for each person, and then oxen to pull it. But he didn't. He said no. But Kohath never complained. His burden was much heavier. And he served God oftentimes with more commitment and more dedication than the 2 that had the wagon. But he never complained, even though the burden was much heavier. Just take a look. Take a look in the church. See how it operates. See how when we have a gathering, when we have something going on at the church, who's doing most of the work? Most of the time, the one that bears the bigger burden. The other guys, sometimes it's got wagons. They don't think that it's their responsibility to carry any load or any part of that load. They simply just do what they do. Sometimes they're those that are, they're not even participators. They're spectators. They just come and watch everybody do it. Or they just come and critique everything everybody else that's doing something does. They don't really get involved with it. They're carrying the lightest burden, but when it comes to what you can see, what they physically do, yet they're the ones, oftentimes, if you just watch, they're the ones that do more complaining than the ones that are carrying the burden. I've come to this conclusion. If everybody carried more of a burden, there would be less griping and complaining. Amen. Why? Because they'd be busy doing the work of the Lord and be a part of it, and they wouldn't be critiquing what everybody does. They'd be helping what everybody. Am I making sense?
Yes, sir.
Am I making sense? Well, God assigned this. He gave the assignment that there was 3 wagons delivered. There was 12 oxen delivered. There was 3 men and their groups that were appointed to move the tabernacle through the wilderness. 2 of them got wagons. 1 of them got no wagon at all. He was expected to bear everything on his shoulders. He was not told all his. But he didn't complain. He never failed to tote what God had appointed him to do. He didn't see it as unfair. And there was no little look like, hey, Kodak, how about guy? How about we tote your burden? Oh, no. I'm not burdened. I'm blessed. What? Hey, I get to carry the most special, the most holy, the things at the center of God's heart. I get to carry the presence of the Lord. I get to carry the ark of the... What did you say? A burden? I'm not burdened at all. It's a joy for me when God comes by and says, well, that dog won't go that. Has anybody helped him out lately? No, sir, he don't want us to. He thinks it's a privilege to get to touch this stuff. We ride right by him on the wagon. We could possibly put some of it on the tailgate. Oh, no. He won't have it. He wants to handle everything. He doesn't mind toting that burden. He sees it as a blessing. He thinks it's a blessing, not a burden. He never complains. He just hooks up and totes it right on out of here. Sometimes him and his bunch will beat us to the next setup place, and he's toting it by hand. And we toting it all on the wagon. And we complaining all the way. And we get there, but his stuff's already there. He's already toted it all the way. They may tote it 20 miles or 30 miles before they decide to set the tabernacle back up. Hooked up, going. God, how about my life? Where am I at? How would I handle what Kodak was expected to handle? What if God was asked me to have a full-time job, have another job on the side, have 4 or 5 kids at the house, to take care of them, have a wife and a relationship to try to keep up with, and everything else. And I'm happy, Lord, to take on a burden. I'm privileged enough for you to let me be a part of what you got going on. Isn't that a blessing? When I read this, I was going like, Lordy, God, why don't you give the boy a wagon? What's the deal? Why are you giving this? One guy's got 2 wagons and 8 oxen. One guy's got 1 wagon and 4 oxen. One guy's got to tote it by hand. But he never complained. I wonder how you would handle what Kohath has been asked to do. And I wonder how much complaining, and I wonder how long he would stay at it. He stayed at it for his entire lifetime. It never changed for his whole life. He towed it by hand through the wilderness, all of the instruments to the inside of the tabernacle. What a blessing. What a thought. And he saw it not as a burden, but as a privilege, as he was the most blessed out of the three. He thought he got the biggest prize. He thought he got the greatest reward. And he toted all the burden by hand. What a contrast when you take us and put us beside Kohath. And boy, 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 if you ask us to do anything that's going to cause any kind of an inconvenience or a burden or anything else, there's some that raise their hand and gladly say, hey, put it right here. Put it right there. We got it. We got it. And there's others that, oh, Lord, I didn't know you was going to want me to do that. I didn't know you was expecting me to do anything. I didn't know you was going to think I was going to tote part of the burden. I didn't come here for that. I just came to watch y'all have church. I didn't come to be a part of it. I didn't think you're thinking that I'm going to wipe down the counters when the meal's over? I'm going to have to wash dishes? I'm going to have to show up early and put the tablecloths out and put the salt and pepper out and prepare the food and all of that? Oh, no. I can't do that. Why not? Why isn't it just as much your job as it is anybody else's in the church? How do you think people get nominated to do that or take on those burdens? You know how? Voluntarily. You can't make anybody do anything. You can't make them. So when you see people cleaning up behind you and preparing for you and all that, how about an extra thank you? How about an extra God bless you? I appreciate what you do. It would help. It would help. Kohath, I'm sure, when times got tough and the way was long and the burden was hard, and somebody come by and pat him on the back and said, man, I appreciate what you do. If it wasn't for you, we couldn't have the tabernacle. We wouldn't have the instruments to worship God like we do. And we appreciate what you do. And you tote the biggest burden on your shoulder. And we thank you for that. And I'm telling you, we've got some Kohaths in our church. And I think, because without it wouldn't operate. You couldn't pull it off. It wouldn't happen. For Christy and the ones that prepared the thing for us last night. Oh my goodness. It was so nice. It was so put together, so well organized and prepared and all of that. But now too, I want to say this. When you take on those burdens, remember, this is what I always say. When people come to me and say, Brother Jimmy, I think the Lord lead me to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. Listen, this is what I want to do. I want you to understand. Anything that you feel that God is leading you to do, listen to me, don't expect any help. None. Matter of fact, expect criticism and judgment. Because anybody that does anything has got to go through the judgment and the criticism. And oftentimes, you got to do it right by yourself. But if you're going to get the blessing, you're going to have to praise God in the burden, in the task of doing it. Well, everybody don't treat me like, and nobody told me thank you, and nobody even recognized me, and I hadn't got a award or a reward. Listen to me, the reward comes from the Lord. Amen. And it comes from the inside. But you know what I'm talking about. When you do something that you feel like God had called you to do, or God had impressed upon you to do, and you accomplish it, and you go home and God just fills you up. Oh my God. Oftentimes, we stop God from filling us up because we begin to complain and say, you know what, if Tommy would have helped me, it would have been a whole lot easier. You lost your blessing. You lost your blessing. God was fixing to pour out a blessing. And you stopped the hand of God as he began to turn his hand over. And listen, there's folks in this room that took great burden and tithe on every dime they bring in. They not only tote the burden and participate in the church just about any time the church is having something. You look around, most of the time they're serving at it. But if not, they're generally always there. They're waiting for the next burden and the next assignment to be given to them. God bless you. God bless you, and he will bless you. And they not only do that, when it comes time to take part in the support of the church, the undergirding, the ability to be able to continue to do all the things God has called us to do. And listen, we have barely scraped the surface of what God wants us to do. And many times we've almost reached that line and we rob ourselves of the blessing because this person gets upset, that person gets upset, this person fails this person, and they quit looking at the Lord and they start looking at people and they get discouraged and they do this and they do that. And every one of us need to get to the point you go like, hey, blinders, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no. I didn't see that. I was serving the Lord. I didn't have time. I know there's a bunch of gripers and complainers and critics, and I don't do that. I don't even do this for them. That's not what I'm doing it for. That's not what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it because God led me to do it. Now, if they're blessed because of what I do and doing what God called me to do, that's great. That's God's intention. I understand. But that's not my motivation. My motivation is that feeling of what I get of accomplishment. And God blesses. But not God. Listen, God has to first get you used to a blessing that you can receive and not lose. Okay? Because you'll lose your blessing if you don't treat it right. So when God gets you used to those kind of blessings, just simply that fulfillment, that joy unspeakable and full of glory, then the blessing moves into the other realm, the next stage of blessing. It becomes a physical, tangible blessing in your life. But it can't until you can get over that feeling of the Spirit of God and that sense of fulfillment and joy. When there is no great tangible reward, then there's no reason to give you a tangible reward. You can't accept it. You don't know what to do with it. You won't handle that right if you won't handle that first stage of blessing. Then there's no point in moving to the next level. God wants to bless abundantly those that are committed, those that follow God, the direction of God. But he does it for those that don't complain, those that don't look at other people, those that don't get their motivation by how good everybody's smiling or how good everybody's thanking you and patting you on the back. The motivation is, y'all know what's going on up in here. Hey, I done fulfilled what God called me to do, and boy, it feels good. I'm hooked on that stuff. I'm hooked on that stuff. And then, like I said, when you begin to be able to handle that and you don't live with this great expectation that everybody is coming short on, that God, when you have the expectation that you have of him, he'll never let you down on. He'll always fill you up on. So that one is coming. When you get to where you can accept that, treat it right, and watch it increase, then it comes from the inside outward and becomes very apparent in the tangible, in the temple, in this world, in your life. So I want you to feel sorry for Korath. Korath was one of the greatest blessed people in this whole story. But it's hard to realize that from the beginning. But when you first look at it, you're like, God, you picking on it. You don't like that boy, do you? You're making him tote all the stuff, Lord. That ain't right. Why don't you give him a wagon like you gave the other guy? You give this guy 2 wagons. Go out standing there. You want him to tote it all by hand. And he's done it faithfully. He's done it faithfully. I want you now to take a pretty good message. The message from God. It's God's message, not mine. This is God's message, not mine. It's not mine. I'm not even smart enough to put this together. But when I read it, and God goes, oh, look at that again. Then I look at it again, and I go like, wait a minute. Is God being unfair? Is he showing partiality? Does he like the other two more than he likes Joab? Does he really like the one he gave 2 wagons to? 1 wagon? All the oxen? All that? When he had enough to go around, he could have equally divided it between the 3. Everybody that had wagons, everybody that had oxen. He didn't do it. Why? That was the most special place. Listen to me. Don't let anybody discourage you. God sees what you're doing. God knows what you're doing. God knows your heart when you do it. There's a crown laid up for those that'll bear the burden on their own shoulders. There's a blessing for those that'll do it and not complain. There's a blessing for those. Not only that, feel joy unspeakable and full of glory on the inside. God begins to bless even on the outside, even the tangible things of life. God begins to answer those prayers and fulfill those needs and answer those wants and those desires. God begins to answer those. But not when you live on the level of I can't even get a blessing. Because when I try to get a blessing, I become so discouraged and downtrodden that I lose my blessing. Because I'm looking to the wrong place for motivation. I'm looking to the wrong place to get lifted up. The Lord does that part. The Lord does that part. And when he does, then it flows out of you back into all the people around you, and the whole atmosphere changes. The whole atmosphere changes. I want to ask you tonight, as I close, I want you to think about this message in reference to your own life. In reference to your own life. I have to. So now I challenge you to. What have you enlisted to do? What burden are you bearing on your own shoulders? And how's that going? How's that working out? Is it to the honor and glory of God and to the furtherance of his kingdom's work? Or is it a snarl and a fuss and a fight? Which one is it? If it's the latter, God's not pleased. And Satan will use it mightily against his church and against you. But if it's done in the proper way, oh, it can bear such fruit. It can bear such blessing in your life. Don't let the devil trick you into losing your blessing. Just because you didn't get a wagon and God asked you to bear it on your own shoulders doesn't mean God doesn't love you and God doesn't recognize you and God doesn't see what you're doing and it goes unnoticed with God. It certainly does not. God's very aware of those that will tote the burden on their own shoulders without complaining at all and further the kingdom's work just because that God asked them to do it. Just because they felt that nudging of the Holy Spirit to do this. And they feel that God has asked them to do this. What are you just riding the wagon? Or are you bearing a burden on your shoulders? Don't originally listen. I'm not putting down that one that's riding the wagon. That was God's purpose for them. I'm not putting them down at all. All I'm asking you to do is realize the difference. Realize there is a difference. And people oftentimes bear very burdensome burdens here at the church that they shouldn't have to bear, because it should be spread out more among the people. I don't know exactly how many there is lined up to do the cooking on Wednesday, and I know everybody's not available. I understand that. I'm not even addressing that. But those that could, oftentimes don't. You know, and it comes down to a very small number of people that it gets put on. I'm not saying they're complaining, and I'm certainly not complaining about the job they do. Oh man, I love them Wednesday night meals, amen? And they're such a blessing to us, right? But if there's a possibility that there's some that it could be put on more shoulders. And you say, well, I can't cook, right? But don't you get here by about 5:30, 6 o'clock? Couldn't you take part in it from that point on? Could you do the serving, or could maybe you do the cleaning up? They've been here since, some of them come in at 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock noon, and they work all the way up at the time they serve at 5:30, 40. So they've been here 6 hours laboring. But especially those that, some of them like to put on the meal now. I mean, they throw down out there. They've got a whole spread, But regardless of what they do it for us. They do it for the Lord. And that's not the only area. It's the whole thing. It's the entire thing. There's things that goes undone that could be done. There's things that you can see. God, hey, I've been hanging there. I think I've been hanging there long enough. I got a ladder to have. I can bring my ladder. I got a saw. I think I can cut that thing square. I think I can fix that. Grab your saw. Bring your ladder, man. Jump on it. Get right. Sit there and complain about it. That's your burden. This your church. This for you. This for your family. This for your children. This for your future. You're a part of this thing. Every time you walk in the door, back there on just a regular service day, I'm talking about Sunday morning service, you need to come in, especially those of you that are trained in these areas. You want to have that right there in a square. Right there in hanging crooked. There's a hole in that wall right there behind that hole. Somebody broke the handle off his horn back there. Somebody did this. Somebody's let that slide. I could fix that. I'm going to bring stuff to fix that. Or I'm going to go to Brother Jimmy. If it's a big expense, I'm going to go to Brother Jimmy and say, Brother Jimmy, you have me get the stuff out here. I can fix that. Am I right? Is it a good message? Amen. Just because you don't have a wagon doesn't mean God won't bless you. God does know what you're doing. If you've got a wagon, drive the wagon. Load it down with all the other stuff that comes together to make the tabernacle. If you don't have the wagon, He asks you to bear it on your shoulder. Bear it on your shoulder. But hunt for a burden. Hunt for some. You want to be carrying some kind of burden. You want to be, so all of us should. Take the message tonight and use it in a positive way in your life. God will bless you mightily. I'm telling you, you won't do it, and God will say, God didn't even know it. I don't even know. Tell you what, you don't even notice. The Lord will wind up blessing you. He'll wind up taking care of things that you didn't even know was coming. He'll take care of stuff that's fixing to put you down, and you didn't even know. That's what He does. Let's pray. Father, as we close, God, we thank You for the message tonight. Lord, we thank You for Your precious word. God, that we can take it and use it as examples in our own lives, God, to take and say, hey, I can apply that even in my situation. That would work for me. So, Lord, I ask You to share that with all those in this room tonight. God, if You'll open up their hearts and their minds, God, that they might receive it. Lord, that they might receive the message. God, that they might receive the blessing that You intend for them to have. God, I know that You want to bless abundantly. God, You want the people to be overflowing with joy and peace and happiness, God, in their own life. And that spread abroad throughout their home God, and then it brings it up here to the church, and it even gets bigger and bigger. Lord, so I ask you to help us all. Be dedicated. God, be aware of our surroundings and what goes on in our church that you gave us, this building that you gave us. Not only our church, that's the people, God, that have to be taken care of. And there's men been appointed and voted on by this church to make sure that that part takes place. Not that everybody can't have a part in it, but Lord, we got men that's set apart, that's sanctified, set apart for that work. So God, but there's many other things that's going undone that could be taken care of by men and women of this church, God. I ask you, God, to give us all that heart of Kohath. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Let's stand.